The Galactic Council's emergency session had never seen such terror in the eyes of its members. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vrylan Empire trembled as holographic displays showed the impossible scene unfolding on Research Station Omega-7. His scaled hands shook as he pointed at the central screen where a small human child, no more than 6 Earth years old, stood face to face with the most feared creature in known space. The Void Reaper. For 3,000 years, this ancient dragon had been the nightmare that haunted every spacefaring species. Its black scales absorbed light itself, making it appear as a living shadow against the stars. When it moved, reality seemed to bend around its massive form. The creature measured nearly 400 meters from snout to tail, with wings that could eclipse small moons. Its eyes burned with the fires of dying stars, and its breath could melt through the strongest battlecruiser hulls in seconds. The dragon had appeared without warning near the human research station, as it always did when hunting. No species had ever survived a direct encounter with the Void Reaper. Entire fleets had been reduced to cosmic dust by this single creature. The Galactic Council had standing orders that any ship detecting the dragon's energy signature should immediately retreat to maximum jump distance and pray it hadn't been noticed. But, somehow, this human child had ended up alone with the beast. Dr. Sarah Chan had been conducting routine atmospheric studies in the station's observation deck when the proximity alarms began screaming. She rushed to the main viewing window and felt her blood freeze. The Void Reaper floated in space just outside, its massive head turning to study the station with those terrible burning eyes. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, to do anything except what her 6-year-old daughter Emma was already doing. Emma pressed her small hands against the reinforced viewing window, her eyes wide with wonder instead of fear. "Mama, look at the pretty dragon," she whispered, her breath fogging the glass. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. She had brought Emma to the station for a few days while her husband completed his assignment on Earth. The research facility was supposed to be perfectly safe, located in a quiet sector where nothing dangerous ever happened. Now her daughter stood 3 meters away from the most lethal predator in the galaxy, separated only by a window that might as well have been tissue paper against the Void Reaper's power. The dragon's head tilted, clearly having noticed the small figure in the window. Sarah held her breath, waiting for the inevitable blast of superheated plasma that would end both their lives. Instead, something unprecedented happened. The ancient creature moved closer, until its massive eye was level with the window where Emma stood. Throughout the galaxy, every major species had their own legends about the Void Reaper. The militaristic Korthak spoke of entire battle groups that had vanished when they attempted to establish dominance over the creature. The peaceful Melodians had lost their most beautiful colony world when the dragon decided their singing disturbed its rest. Even the technologically superior Nexari, with all their advanced weaponry and shields, had learned to flee rather than fight when the Void Reaper appeared. But none of their legends had prepared them for what they witnessed next. Emma giggled, a sound so pure and innocent that it seemed impossible in the presence of such cosmic terror. She pressed her face closer to the window and made silly faces at the dragon. The massive creature's eye narrowed, but not in anger. If Sarah didn't know better, she would have sworn the Void Reaper looked curious. The dragon's head pulled back slightly, and one of its massive claws moved toward the window. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs as she realized the creature could shatter the barrier with the gentlest touch. Instead, the claw stopped just short of the glass, and one razor-sharp talon began moving in slow, deliberate patterns. Emma clapped her hands together with delight. "Mama, it's drawing pictures." Sarah forced herself to look at what the dragon was creating. On the surface of a nearby asteroid, the creature's claw had carved simple shapes. A circle. A triangle. Basic geometric forms that any child could recognize and understand. The Void Reaper, the terror of 1,000 worlds, was playing with her daughter. The interstellar communication networks crackled with frantic messages as news of the encounter spread. Military commanders who had spent decades developing strategies to avoid the Void Reaper now watched in disbelief as their greatest nightmare engaged in what could only be described as playtime with a human child. Ambassador Zethkar's voice cracked as he addressed the emergency council session. "The creature has been observed for the past 47 minutes. It shows no signs of aggression toward the human station. Our xenobiologists are completely baffled by this behavior." Council member THYSS of the Aquatic Dominion rippled her tentacles in confusion. In 3 millennia of documented encounters, the Void Reaper has never demonstrated anything except destructive behavior. It consumes energy from destroyed vessels and appears to hunt purely for sustenance. This interaction defies everything we know about the creature. On the viewing screen, Emma had begun singing a simple children's song about friendship and stars. Her young voice couldn't possibly carry through the vacuum of space, but the dragon seemed to sense the rhythm and melody. Its massive head swayed gently, almost as if keeping time with the music. Dr. Chen finally found the courage to move, slowly approaching the window where her daughter continued her innocent interaction with the galaxy's most feared predator. She activated her personal recording device, knowing that whatever happened next would either be humanity's greatest triumph or its most tragic moment. The dragon finished its asteroid drawing and moved its great head close to the window again. This time, something extraordinary happened. The creature opened its mouth slightly, revealing rows of teeth the size of starship missiles, but, instead of the expected blast of destructive energy, a soft, almost musical sound emerged. The Void Reaper was humming. Emma pressed both hands against the window and hummed back, creating an impossible duet between human innocence and cosmic terror. The sound seemed to resonate through the station's hull, a harmony that no composer in the galaxy could have imagined. Sarah realized she was witnessing something that would change everything. Not just first contact with an ancient alien intelligence, but proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology. It was in their ability to see wonder and friendship even in the most terrifying circumstances. The Void Reaper's eyes, which had terrorized countless species for millennia, seemed to grow warmer as they focused on the small human child. For the first time in galactic history, the creature that had been synonymous with destruction was experiencing something entirely new. It was experiencing joy. Captain Vexthra of the Korthok War Fleet couldn't believe what his sensors were telling him. His massive dreadnought, the Crimson Devastator, had been en route to investigate reports of Void Reaper activity when long-range scanners picked up the impossible scene. The ancient terror was still at Research Station Omega-7, but, instead of leaving behind its usual trail of destruction, the creature appeared to be playing. "Captain, should we maintain our approach?" asked his tactical officer, mandibles clicking nervously. The Korthak were the galaxy's premier warriors, bred for combat across 100 generations, but even they knew better than to challenge the Void Reaper directly. Vexthra studied the tactical display showing dozens of ships from various species maintaining careful distances around the station. Everyone wanted to witness this unprecedented event, but no one dared get close enough to interfere. "Hold position at maximum sensor range," he ordered. "If that creature decides to resume its normal behavior, I want us ready to jump immediately." Aboard the station, Emma had begun showing the dragon her collection of stuffed animals. She held each one up to the window, announcing their names with the serious importance that only a 6-year-old could muster. "This is Mr. Whiskers, he's a cat. And this is Sparkles, she's a unicorn, but she's friendly like you." Dr. Chen watched in amazement as the Void Reaper listened attentively to each introduction. The creature's massive eye tracked every movement, and occasionally it would make soft rumbling sounds that seemed almost like responses. When Emma held up a small stuffed dragon, the Void Reaper's entire demeanor changed. The ancient creature pulled back and examined its own reflection in the window, then looked at the toy dragon Emma held. For a moment that felt like an eternity, the two dragons, one real and terrifying, one small and cuddly, stared at each other across the barrier of space and glass. Then, the Void Reaper did something that made every xenobiologist in the galaxy question their understanding of the universe. It laughed. The sound was like distant thunder mixed with cosmic wind, a deep rumbling that resonated through the station's structure and somehow conveyed pure amusement. The creature that had been the source of nightmares for 3,000 years was laughing at the sight of its own stuffed representation. Emma giggled in response and made the toy dragon dance against the window. "Do you like him? His name is Shadow, just like you're all dark and pretty." In the emergency council chamber, Ambassador THYSS tentatively raised a fin. "Perhaps we should consider the possibility that we have been misinterpreting the Void Reaper's behavior for millennia." The suggestion sent ripples of shock through the assembled delegates. General Korax of the Stellar Defense Force leaned forward aggressively. "Are you suggesting that 3,000 years of documented destruction and terror were some kind of misunderstanding?" "I'm suggesting," THYSS replied carefully, "that we may have been looking at this creature through the lens of our own fears rather than attempting to understand its true nature." The holographic display continued to show Emma and the Void Reaper engaged in their impossible friendship. The child had begun drawing pictures on the fogged window with her finger, simple stick figures of people and dragons playing together. The Void Reaper watched intently, occasionally using its claw to create corresponding images on nearby asteroids. Dr. Chen finally found her voice and activated the station's communication system. Her hand shook as she opened a channel to the gathered fleet. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen aboard Research Station Omega 7. I think we need to reconsider everything we know about the Void Reaper." Captain Vexthraw's voice crackled through the response. "Dr. Chen, are you and your child safe? We have rescue ships standing by." Sarah looked at her daughter, who was now lying on her stomach, chin propped on her hands, having what appeared to be a serious conversation with the galaxy's most feared predator through the window. We're fine, Captain. Better than fine, actually. I think the creature is trying to communicate." This statement caused an uproar across all communication channels. The idea that the Void Reaper possessed intelligence beyond simple predatory instinct had never been seriously considered. Every encounter had involved immediate destruction, leaving no opportunity for communication attempts. Professor Qualith, the Nexary's leading expert on cosmic phenomena, joined the communication network from his research vessel. "Dr. Chen, we've been monitoring energy readings from the creature. Its bioelectric patterns suggest a level of cognitive complexity we've never observed before. Whatever your daughter is doing, it's activating neural pathways in the creature that appear to correspond to higher brain functions." Emma, oblivious to the galactic significance of her actions, had moved on to teaching the dragon simple hand games. She would clap her hands in patterns, and the Void Reaper would respond by tapping its claws against its own massive limbs in similar rhythms. The sound carried through space as vibrations that the station's sensors detected and converted to audio. "Mama, he's really smart," Emma announced without taking her eyes off her new friend. "He learns the games really fast." Sarah activated her professional recording equipment and began documenting everything. As a xenobiologist, she understood that she was witnessing the most important first contact event in galactic history. But, as a mother, she was simply amazed by her daughter's ability to make friends with anyone, even a cosmic dragon. The Void Reaper's behavior continued to defy every known pattern. Instead of the restless, predatory movements typically observed, the creature remained perfectly still except when responding to Emma's games. Its energy signature, usually chaotic and violent, had stabilized into something resembling contentment. Dr. Zalthor, the galaxy's foremost expert on the Void Reaper, joined the emergency communication network from his observatory. "Colleagues, I have studied this creature for 60 years. What we are witnessing challenges every theory about its nature. The energy patterns suggest the creature is not just intelligent, but possibly even lonely." The word hung in the void like a revelation. Lonely. The idea that the galaxy's greatest terror might simply be a misunderstood being seeking connection had never occurred to anyone. Emma had grown tired of games and was now simply sitting quietly, her hand pressed against the window. The Void Reaper had positioned itself so that one massive claw rested against the same spot on the exterior surface. They were as close to touching as the barrier would allow, a moment of connection between human innocence and ancient wisdom. "Tell me about your home," Emma whispered, her breath fogging the glass. "Do you have friends there?" The Void Reaper's response was a low, mournful sound that seemed to carry the weight of eons. Even without understanding the language, everyone listening knew they were hearing an expression of profound sadness. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes as she realized the truth. This creature hadn't been terrorizing the galaxy out of malice. It had been alone for thousands of years, and every encounter with other species had ended in fear and violence before communication could be established. Until now. Until her daughter looked at a cosmic dragon and saw not a monster, but a potential friend. The breakthrough came when Emma began singing again, but this time she chose a lullaby her grandmother had taught her about finding your way home when you're lost and scared. The melody was simple and repetitive, the kind of song that transcended language barriers. As her sweet voice filled the observation deck, something remarkable happened to the Void Reaper's energy signature. Professor Qualitha's instruments went wild as the creature's bioelectric patterns synchronized with the rhythm of Emma's song. "Incredible," he whispered across the communication network. "The creature is harmonizing not just acoustically, but on a neural level. It's learning the emotional content of the music." The Void Reaper's humming grew more complex, weaving around Emma's simple melody with harmonies that spoke of vast loneliness, endless wandering, and deep sadness. But underneath it all was something new, a thread of hope that grew stronger as the child's voice continued. Ambassador Zethkar found himself wiping away tears he didn't know his species could shed. In all our legends, we never considered that the creature might be trying to sing back to us. Dr. Chen realized she needed to take a more active role in this historic moment. She approached the window slowly, not wanting to startle either her daughter or their massive visitor. Emma, honey, do you think you could ask your friend some questions for Mama? Emma nodded seriously, her face still pressed against the glass. What do you want to know? Ask him his name. Ask him where he comes from. Emma turned to the Void Reaper and spoke with the absolute confidence that only children possess when making new friends. What's your name, Mr. Dragon? I'm Emma, and this is my mama Sarah. The creature's response was a complex series of harmonics that the station's computers struggled to analyze. Dr. Chen watched the translation software attempt to process sounds that contained emotional meaning beyond simple words. Finally, a rough approximation appeared on her screen. I am the last song of the dark between. The translation sent shockwaves through the gathered fleet. This wasn't just intelligence, it was poetry. The Void Reaper had a name for itself that spoke of cosmic loneliness and the music of empty space. That's a pretty name, Emma said without hesitation. But it's very long. Can I call you Song? The creature that had terrified civilizations for millennia actually seemed to consider this question carefully before producing a shorter, warmer harmonic pattern that clearly meant acceptance. Captain Vexthra's tactical officer looked up from his instruments with confusion written across his scaled features. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups from the creature, but they don't match any known attack patterns. Before Vexthra could respond, space around the station began to shimmer. The Void Reaper was doing something unprecedented, using its reality warping abilities not for destruction, but for creation. Streams of cosmic energy flowed from the creature's form, weaving together into complex patterns that hung in the vacuum like three-dimensional art. Emma clapped her hands in delight as the light show unfolded around them. The dragon was painting with starfire, creating beautiful mandalas and spirals that pulsed with every color in the spectrum. Each pattern told a story, images of distant worlds, strange creatures, and endless journeys through the dark between stars. Song is showing me pictures of his adventures, Emma explained to her mother. He's been traveling for a really long time. He's seen so many pretty places, but he didn't have anyone to share them with. Dr. Chen felt her scientific training warring with maternal instinct as she realized the full implications of what was happening. This creature wasn't just intelligent, it was an artist, a storyteller, a being with emotional needs that had gone unmet for millennia. Every destructive encounter with galactic civilization had been born from frustration and loneliness, not malice. The communication networks buzzed with activity as xenobiologists across the galaxy began revising 3,000 years of theoretical framework in real time. Dr. Ilera of the Peaceful Coalition was the first to voice what many were thinking: we need to formally apologize to this being. Our ancestors' fear prevented us from recognizing its true nature. General Korax of the Stellar Defense Force struggled with the concept. You're talking about apologizing to something that has destroyed hundreds of ships and killed millions of beings. I'm talking about apologizing to someone who has been alone for 3,000 years because we were too afraid to try talking to him, Dr. Ilera replied firmly. The debate was interrupted by Emma's excited voice. Mama, Song wants to know if he can be my friend. He's really lonely, and I told him humans are good at being friends with people who are different. Sarah felt the weight of galactic history pressing down on her shoulders. Her daughter's innocent friendship offer might be the most important diplomatic moment in the history of spacefaring civilization. She knelt beside Emma and chose her words carefully. Emma, Song has been alone for a very long time, and some people in space are scared of him because he's so big and powerful. If you want to be his friend, we need to help other people understand that he's not scary, just lonely. Emma nodded with the serious determination that children bring to important matters. She turned back to the window and spoke directly to the massive eye that watched her every movement. Song, some people are scared of you because you're really big. But I'm not scared, and I want to be your friend. Can you show them that you're nice like you showed me? The Void Reaper's response was immediate and overwhelming. The creature's energy signature shifted into patterns that every translation computer in the fleet recognized simultaneously. The message was simple but profound: yes, little friend. I will try. What happened next would be remembered as the moment everything changed. The Void Reaper began to sing not the harmonizing hums it had shared with Emma, but a full, complex song that carried across space through gravitational waves and quantum fluctuations. Every ship in the area detected it, and the translation was universal. It was a song of greeting. A song of peace. A song of hope that after 3,000 years of loneliness, the last song of the dark between had finally found someone willing to listen. Emma pressed her hand against the window again, and this time the Void Reaper carefully extended one claw to match her gesture. Separated by a thin barrier of transparent aluminum, the smallest human and the mightiest dragon in known space shared a moment of perfect understanding. "We're friends now," Emma announced with absolute certainty. "And friends take care of each other." The words echoed across the communication networks, and, in that moment, every spacefaring species in the galaxy realized they were witnessing the birth of a new age, one where humanity's greatest gift wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their ability to find friendship in the most unexpected places. The first test of this newfound friendship came sooner than anyone expected. Long-range sensors detected an approaching Nexari battlecruiser, its weapons charging as it prepared for what its crew believed would be a standard evacuation and containment protocol. The captain clearly hadn't received the updated communications about the peaceful contact. Emma noticed Son's reaction immediately. The great dragon's energy pattern shifted toward the defensive configurations that had preceded every historical attack. His massive head turned toward the approaching ship, and, for a terrifying moment, everyone thought the peaceful encounter was about to end in the usual violence. "Son, no." Emma pressed both hands against the window, her young voice filled with concern rather than fear. "They don't understand yet. They think you're going to hurt people." The Void Reaper paused, its attention torn between the approaching threat and the small human who had become its first friend in millennia. Dr. Chen grabbed the communication array and transmitted on all emergency frequencies. "Nexari vessel, this is Research Station Omega 7. Do not approach with weapons charged. The Void Reaper is engaged in peaceful contact. Repeat, do not show hostile intent." Captain Telvash of the Nexari cruiser responded with military precision. "Dr. Chen, we are here to extract you and your child from immediate danger. The creature's behavior may seem peaceful, but it remains the galaxy's greatest threat." Emma overheard the transmission and turned to Son with the kind of determined expression that every parent recognizes. "Son, I need you to show them you're nice. Can you do something that proves you won't hurt anyone?" The dragon considered this request with obvious intelligence. Then, in a display that left every military tactician speechless, the Void Reaper began to power down. Its reality-warping energies dimmed to barely detectable levels. Its massive form relaxed from the coiled readiness that characterized its usual posture. Most remarkably, it rolled onto its back in the universal gesture of submission that transcended species barriers. The most feared predator in known space was showing its belly to demonstrate trust. Professor Qualitha's voice cracked with emotion as he transmitted his readings. "The creature has reduced its energy output to less than 10% of normal levels. It has made itself completely vulnerable. This level of trust is unprecedented." Captain Telvash found himself staring at tactical displays that showed the Void Reaper in a position where his ship's weapons could easily destroy it. For the first time in galactic history, the ancient terror was defenseless. The Nexari captain powered down his weapons immediately, understanding that attacking now would be not just strategically unnecessary, but morally unthinkable. Emma clapped her hands and kissed the window. "Good job, Son. See? Now they know you're friendly." The simple gesture of a child's kiss against the glass created ripples that no one could have anticipated. The Void Reaper's massive eye widened as it focused on the spot where Emma's lips had touched the barrier. Something in that innocent expression of affection reached the creature on a level deeper than words or songs. The dragon began to glow. Not with the harsh energies of destruction, but with a soft, warm radiance that seemed to emanate from within its dark scales. The light grew brighter, spreading across its massive form until the creature that had been known as a shadow among stars became a beacon of gentle luminescence. Dr. Zalthor's observatory instruments detected energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. "Colleagues, the creature is undergoing some form of metamorphosis. The energy patterns suggest a fundamental change in its biological structure." The Void Reaper's transformation continued as every ship in the area watched in wonder. Its scales, which had absorbed light for millennia, began to reflect and refract the glow from within, creating a display of beauty that brought tears to eyes across dozens of species. The creature that had been the embodiment of cosmic horror was revealing its true nature as something magnificent. Emma pressed her face against the window, her breath fogging the glass as she whispered, "You're beautiful, Song. You were always beautiful." The dragon heard her somehow, and its response was a song of pure joy that resonated through hyperspace itself. Ships across 3 star systems detected the harmonies, and, for the first time, the galaxy heard the Void Reaper's voice carrying happiness instead of rage or sorrow. Ambassador Zethkar stood before the emergency council session, his voice heavy with historical significance. "Distinguished colleagues, we are witnessing the end of 3,000 years of misunderstanding. The being we called the Void Reaper is not a predator or a destroyer. It is like a child that has been alone too long, acting out because no one understood its needs." The transformation was affecting more than just Song's appearance. Dr. Chen's instruments detected massive changes in the space around them. The reality-warping energies that the dragon had used for destruction were now reshaping the local area in impossible ways. Dead asteroids began to bloom with crystalline formations that pulsed with inner light. Cosmic dust swirled into complex patterns that resembled flowers and trees. Song was gardening with the fundamental forces of the universe. Emma pointed excitedly at the celestial garden taking shape around them. "Mama, look. Song is making everything pretty. It's like he's been wanting to create beautiful things, but he was too sad before." The implications hit every xenobiologist simultaneously. The destruction that had followed the Void Reaper throughout galactic history might not have been attacks at all, but failed attempts at creation. A being of cosmic power trying to make something beautiful, only to have its efforts misinterpreted as threats by species too frightened to understand. Captain Vexthraw's warrior instincts struggled with this new perspective. If this is true, then every military engagement with the creature was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of its intentions. Professor Qualitha's response carried the weight of scientific revelation. "Captain, we may have spent 3 millennia fighting off a being that was simply trying to show us art." The growing garden of crystalline structures began to take recognizable shapes. Song was creating sculptures that depicted scenes of different species working together, playing together, exploring the stars in harmony. Each formation told a story of the cooperation and friendship the dragon had dreamed of but never experienced. Emma studied the cosmic artwork with the serious attention she gave to her picture books. Song has been thinking about being friends with everyone for a really long time. "Look, there's pictures of all different kinds of people being happy together." The child's observation sent waves of understanding through the assembled fleet. The Void Reaper hadn't been a destroyer, it had been a dreamer, creating visions of the harmony it desperately wanted to find among the stars. As if responding to their newfound understanding, Song's transformation reached its completion. The creature that had once been a shadow of terror was now a being of radiant beauty, its form still massive and awe-inspiring but no longer frightening. It moved with grace rather than predatory intent, its eyes bright with intelligence and warmth rather than burning with cosmic fire. Emma kissed the window again, and this time the gesture was seen by every being in the gathered fleet. A human child showing affection to the galaxy's former nightmare, proving once and for all that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to see the good in others, no matter how terrifying they might appear on the surface. The kiss that would change everything had been given, not as a diplomatic gesture or a calculated risk, but as the simple expression of a child's love for her new friend. 6 months later, the galaxy was a different place entirely. Research Station Omega-7 had been expanded into the first interspecies cultural exchange center, with Song serving as both its protector and its most enthusiastic participant. The crystalline gardens he had created around the station were now recognized as one of the greatest artistic achievements in galactic history, visited by billions of beings who came to see the beauty that could emerge when fear was replaced by understanding. Emma had become something of a galactic celebrity, though she remained blissfully unaware of her fame. To her, Song was simply her best friend who happened to be very large and could do amazing things with space itself. She visited the station every weekend when her parents' schedules allowed, and each visit brought new wonders as Song learned more about human culture and shared more of his own cosmic perspective. The dragon had taken to creating small gifts for Emma during their playtime sessions. Crystalline sculptures that depicted scenes from her favorite stories, tiny planets that orbited in perfect miniature solar systems, and, most remarkably, constellation maps that showed the locations of worlds where other children might enjoy the same sense of wonder Emma brought to their friendship. Dr. Chen had documented every moment of their interactions, creating the most comprehensive study of interspecies communication in galactic history. Her research showed that Song's intelligence operated on multiple levels simultaneously. He could engage in simple games with Emma while simultaneously holding complex philosophical discussions with adult researchers through harmonic patterns that bypassed traditional language entirely. The dragon had stories to tell from 3,000 years of wandering through space, tales of ancient civilizations that had risen and fallen while he watched from the dark between stars. But, more importantly, he had dreams to share, visions of cooperation between species that he had never dared hope could become reality. Ambassador Zethkar stood before a very different Galactic Council chamber now, one where Song participated as an official member through crystal and communication arrays that translated his harmonic speech into every known language simultaneously. The motion before us today represents the most significant shift in galactic policy in recorded history. Formal recognition of the being formerly known as the Void Reaper as a sovereign entity with full diplomatic status. The vote was unanimous, though it had taken months of careful negotiation to reach this point. Many species had struggled to overcome millennia of ingrained fear, but Song's patient demonstrations of peaceful intent had gradually won over even the most skeptical governments. The dragon had proven his commitment to peaceful coexistence in dozens of ways. When pirates threatened a Vrylan merchant convoy, Song had simply surrounded the attackers with crystalline barriers that prevented violence while allowing safe passage for both sides. When a plague threatened the agricultural worlds of the aquatic dominion, Song had used his reality warping abilities to accelerate the development of medical treatments that saved millions of lives. But, perhaps most importantly, Song had begun teaching other species about the deeper mysteries of the universe. His 3,000 years of solitary exploration had given him insights into cosmic phenomena that advanced galactic science by centuries in just a few months. Emma remained at the center of it all, serving as the bridge between Song's cosmic perspective and the everyday concerns of galactic civilization. She translated his complex ideas into simple concepts that everyone could understand, and she helped him learn about the small joys that made life meaningful across all species. During one of their regular playdate sessions, Emma had made an observation that changed everything once again. "Song, you've been alone for so long, but there might be other dragons like you out there who are lonely too. Maybe we could help you find them." The idea had never occurred to Song, despite his vast intelligence. He had assumed he was the last of his kind, the final remnant of an ancient species that had vanished into cosmic history. But Emma's suggestion opened up possibilities he had never dared to consider. Working together with the finest scientists in the galaxy, Song began using his unique abilities to search the deepest reaches of space for energy signatures similar to his own. The project took months of careful calibration, but, eventually, they detected something remarkable: faint harmonic patterns from distant galaxies that suggested Song was not alone after all. The discovery led to the most ambitious exploration project in galactic history. A joint mission between all major species, led by Song himself, to make contact with others of his kind and, potentially establish communication with entirely new forms of cosmic intelligence. Emma insisted on being part of the mission, despite her parents' concerns about the dangers of intergalactic travel. Song needs someone who understands him, she argued with the unshakable logic of a 7-year-old. And, besides, making new friends is always worth the adventure. The mission launched from a specially constructed space station that incorporated technology from every major species, powered by Song's reality warping abilities and guided by his ancient knowledge of the deepest cosmic currents. As they prepared to depart for regions of space no one had ever explored, Emma stood at the observation deck window where their friendship had first begun. Song positioned himself so that his massive eye was level with the window, just as he had done during their first meeting. But now, instead of a terrifying unknown, he was a beloved friend preparing to embark on the greatest adventure of his long life. Emma pressed her hand against the window one more time, and Song matched the gesture with his claw. Through the barrier that had once represented the divide between fear and understanding, the greatest friendship in galactic history renewed its bond. "Ready for a new adventure, Song?" Emma asked with excitement sparkling in her eyes. The dragon's response was a harmony of pure joy that resonated through Hyper.